Good evening. Ukraine's wartime President Volodymyr Zelensky has been spending the day here on his first official state visit to the country. The Ukrainian president held key meetings with the president and the Taoiseach and addressed the houses of the Oireachtas. Well, his historic visit comes amid tight security and at a crucial moment in talks to try and end the war in Ukraine. Our first report this evening is from Aisling Roach on President Zelensky's day here.
An historic moment for Irish-Ukrainian relations as President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived in Ireland for the first official visit by a Ukrainian head of state, a trip laden with significance amid the ongoing war. From early this morning, a visibly large-scale security operation swung into action, with major Garda deployments and planned road closures across Dublin. President Zelensky's packed schedule began with a visit to Oireachtas, where he met with newly elected President Catherine Connolly. There, he signed the visitor's book and thanked Ireland for its continued support throughout Russia's invasion. His motorcade travelled through the streets of the capital, arriving at government buildings around midday to a formal ceremony and guard of honour. The Ukrainian president held a private meeting with Taoiseach Micheál Martin, who earlier announced an additional €125 million in financial support for Ukraine as part of a new roadmap for partnership.
I do believe very much that you've been supporting us because you understand what we are going through. Historically speaking, you understand it, and based on values. And therefore, we are grateful for your choice, and the question is not about the size of assistance, it's about the choice.
Throughout the visit, the Taoiseach has stressed Ireland's unwavering commitment to Ukraine and its pursuit of a just and lasting peace.
As a country that has experienced the transformative impact of membership of the European Union, we believe the Ukrainian people deserve to experience similar transformative impact of being a member of the European Union, and that would give freedom of movement to all Ukrainians and all Europeans, which is a very basic principle of the Union.
Hoping to boost education links between Ireland and Ukraine, First Lady Olena Zelenska toured Trinity College, including a stop at the Book of Kells. Next on the agenda, President Zelensky addressed a joint sitting of the Oireachtas, underlining the political weight of the visit.
Thank you for your attention to Ukraine and for the fact that Ireland has truly stood the test of time. Thank you for providing home and protection to our people when they needed it most once the war broke out back home. Very nice to see you.
Today's visit marks a major milestone and a new chapter in Ireland's growing partnership with Ukraine. Aisling Roach, Virgin Media News.
Well, our political correspondent Gavin Riley joins us now from central Dublin, where President Zelensky has been attending a trade forum this evening. So, Gavin, a very significant day and visit for both countries.
Absolutely, and I think it's worth reflecting, Colette, on the fact that the two countries will have various different perspectives and agendas for a visit like this. There are effectively two different sets of agendas at play, one for the host and one for the visitors. For the hosts today, and it might be the one that we might focus on first, it is of course the demonstration that Ireland is still in Ukraine's corner, and you heard a mention of that in Aisling's report just a moment ago. €125 million being offered today to Ukraine, 25 million of which is to try and maintain its energy grid under pressure, of course, from Russian attacks, but €100 million in non-lethal military aid. And that is quite a significant amount of money for the Irish government when you consider that up until now it has committed a total of €166 million, of course, through bilateral means and also through various European programmes. So €100 million on top of that in just one day is quite a significant addition, although it should come with the fine print that Ireland hopes that aid can be spread over 5 years and not all used in one quick blast. When you consider the agenda, however, for the visitors, and you consider the fact that Ukraine is now deep into the fourth year of a war that few people ever thought would run this long, there is a real danger for Ukraine that other countries like Ireland might become a little fatigued. For other countries, that is because of the energy constraints that it places on them and the military capability tied up in trying to back Ukraine. For Ireland, of course, it's the big squeeze on accommodation and the fact that 120,000 people have sought refuge here in the last 3.5 years in a country that already had an acute housing shortage. What President Zelensky wanted to do with a visit like this is to remind that country that there is something broad at stake, and he spoke to the shared history of the two countries, both looking across the world to try and get support in their quests to have their nationhood respected by the rest of the world. If that is the goal of what President Zelensky came to do today, I suspect it is mission accomplished, because he does at least leave with a very warm pat on the back from a country at the opposite end of the continent.
Gavin Riley, thank you for that. And we'll be talking to our political correspondent a little later in the programme once again. Now, Zelensky's visit here comes at a key moment in his country's efforts to end the war with Russia. Donald Trump's special envoy is presenting a revised peace plan to Russia in Moscow. But the Russian President Vladimir Putin has said his country is ready for a war with Europe.
Before the talks even started today, Vladimir Putin was already on the offensive, accusing Ukraine's European allies of sabotaging US-led efforts to end the war.
All these changes are aimed at only one thing: to completely block the entire peace process by putting forward demands that are absolutely unacceptable for Russia. By doing so, they intend to blame Russia for the collapse of this peace process. We're not going to have a war with Europe, I've already said. But if Europe suddenly wants to wage a war with us and starts it, we are ready right away.
The Russian president has been meeting with US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff and Donald Trump's son-in-law Jared Kushner about the revised peace plan after the initial version was criticised for being too favourable to Moscow. Volodymyr Zelensky saying today that now more than ever there is a chance to end the war, but he said where they'd go next would depend on today's talks, adding that he'd hold a further meeting with Mr Witkoff if he thought he could count on real specific dialogue, not just words.
There should be no gain behind Ukraine's back. Nothing should be decided about Ukraine without Ukraine. We have to clearly understand what it will be like and how it will work. It's not an experiment for us. We're talking about our people. The Russians started the war. They came with the aggression to annihilate us, and we stopped them with help from our partners. We have to stop the war in such a manner that in 1 year they won't come back again with a third invasion.
It comes as footage from Russia's defence ministry shows what it says are troops waving the country's flag in the Ukrainian city of Pokrovsk. It's claimed it's taken full control of the key location in the Donetsk region, one of several heavily fortified cities crucial to Ukraine's defence of the area, something that's been disputed by Mr Zelensky. This and attacks across the weekend at odds with Russia's claim to want peace. Nicole Gernon, Virgin Media News.
Well, our news correspondent Richard Chambers is with me now. So the peace moves that are underway, but the mood music coming from Moscow, it just isn't good, is it, Richard?
No, not really at all. And I mean, all of this taking place against the backdrop of the visit here. Ireland, no stranger to huge visits over the years, but rarely, if ever, have we seen one at such a crucial moment, such an inflection point, and not just for the history of our visiting nation in Ukraine, but for the entire continent. All of the remarks by Volodymyr Zelensky today will have been watched closely in the Kremlin, where, as you've seen, Vladimir Putin is hosting Donald Trump's key deal maker. A number of figures in Ukraine are known not to trust Steve Witkoff. They have obviously heard the recordings of the phone calls. They've seen the reporting of his leaked phone conversations, which he appeared to be coaching Russian officials into how to get what they want out of Donald Trump. So Zelensky's been travelling with a deep entourage today. Over the course of the day, we've seen them reaching for phones and handing phones away, perhaps keeping an eye on Moscow for updates. And the worry for Zelensky, for Ukraine and for capitals across Europe is that what will come out of the Witkoff and Putin talks is something closer to a surrender document for Ukraine, as we've seen in the past, that there will be demands for territories to be succeeded, that there will be a demand that Ukraine never joins NATO, that it dramatically downsizes its military. And the worry is also that the US will step back entirely from this process, that it gets tired of this process. It'll say that we don't want to provide security to Ukraine or to Europe anymore. That's an immense worry in Europe, in Ukraine, in Berlin and Paris and all the countries along the eastern frontier of Europe. So despite the fact that he's had a very busy day here in Dublin, the real feeling is that the most important meeting for Ukraine today is the one that's happening in Moscow. But the language, as you've been seeing from Vladimir Putin, is very, very stark. A war with Europe if Europe wants a war. Zelensky says he's willing to see what comes out of the meeting today, looking for real concrete proposals, not to be fooled by delay tactics, as he's put it. So Europe and Ukraine very much on alert, and Ireland right in the thick of it today.
All right, Richard, thanks very much for all of that.